Okay, so in this video I think we're going to do number 10 and 11 together because there's an important distinction between the two of them. So let's look at number 10. It says get a count of items under $10 for each vendor. Okay, and we're going to order by country, and the results should be as follows. So we have the country, the vendor name, these are coming from the vendor table, and then we have the number of items coming from the inventory table. So this will be another join, just a plain inner join. And the thing is, there's a twist on this one because we're only interested in those inventory items that are under $10 or less than $10. So we are going to have a where clause here. But then, you know, everything else is the same with our group by clause and so on. So let's go ahead and do this one. I think I'll type it from scratch. Okay, so we're done with this. Somewhere I lost number 9. But, well, maybe I modified 8 and that became number 9. Let me just go ahead and put a note. Okay, so anyway, let's look at number 10 now. Alright, so we're going to select the country, and we want the vendor name, and we want the count. Okay, and we can just throw a star in there. And I think I'll give it a good descriptive column header here. We'll say number of items under 10 or something like that. Okay. And this is coming from, we have 2 tables. Once again, we have the vendor table. Oops, sorry. Okay, and we're going to join the inventory table. Okay, and then I have to do my common field here, so it would be vendor ID equals, whoops, inventory vendor ID. Okay, now we're not done. All right, this is where we get into the interesting part here. So we are only interested in those items that are less than $10. So I'm going to put my where clause right here, okay, where the item cost is less than 10, okay. All right, and then I'm going to add my group by. Okay, so we've got a couple of things going on here. We're limiting the number of rows that go into each group. But we're still grouping here, you know, so that's a kind of a separate issue. So we'll say group by, and then remember that whole thing we talked about. If you're going to select a regular run-of-the-mill column up here, you've got, and you're going to group, both of those columns have got to be there in that group by clause. Okay, and I don't know, were we told to order this? Yes, order by country. Okay, so we'll just throw in an order by clause here. Okay, so I am going to run this. Okay, so what do we have? These are just the countries that happen to have vendors that happen to have items under $10, okay, and we get a count of each of them. You know, here, I want to make a distinction here, okay, the where clause limits, because I'm thinking ahead to number 11, which is rather different from this. The where clause limits the number of rows in each group, okay. So, I mean, this vendor, for example, Bonat of France, probably has a lot more items than just three, but we asked for those items that are less than $10, okay? So, like Demori, Benchi, for example, I know that has quite a few in the inventory table, but, you know, we asked for those that are under $10, and so we only got a count of 3. So we're limiting, using the where clause to limit the number of rows that make it into each group, all right? So that's the distinction there. Now with that in mind, let's look at number 11, okay? and it says get an average price of items for each vendor, okay, grouped by country and vendor name. We've already done that a few problems ago. But it says here, include a halving clause so that only vendors with averages over $20 are displayed. Okay, what we're doing here with the halving clause is we're limiting the number of groups displayed. Okay, so let's do this, and we'll talk about that some more. So this is let's see. I think maybe I will use some of this just so you don't have to sit there and watch me typing. Maybe. Okay. Well, I'll just grab all of it. Okay. So I'm going to wipe out this, and I am definitely going to keep the join. Now the where doesn't figure into this scenario at all. I'm going to keep my group by, and there's something else we have to add here too. So basically, we're interested in the average of the item cost for each vendor. This is what, like I said, we did one of these a few problems ago. I'm not going to format it by, with the convert function with the currency. You could do that if you wanted to, but I want to focus on the new concepts here. So we're going to keep the join clause, that doesn't change, and I'm going to group by country and vendor name. Okay, however, we're not done. We're going to add a halving clause. Okay, halving AVG, we're asked for those averages, those vendors that have averages greater than $20. So this is having AVG item cost greater than 20. Okay, and then order by country, that's the same. So here's the thing, this is the distinction. We said up here we use the where clause to limit the number of rows that make it into each group. Okay, here we use the halving clause to limit the number of groups. The groups themselves are limited by the halving clause. So, it's almost, that's the kind of thing that you just kind of have to sit there and think about for a minute and let it set in. The where clause limits the number of rows in each group, but the number of groups is the same. Okay, we haven't limited the number of groups. We use a halving clause to limit the number of groups. Okay, so let me, I'm going to comment this one out, and I'm going to run this. Okay, so look, we have a lot less because we limited our number of groups. Okay, we don't see every country here. We don't even see Italy here, and that we know they have chocolate all over this database. So basically, I've limited the number of groups to only those vendors that have average prices above $20.